Today I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Secretlab Titan 2022 model, running you through some of the newest features and comparing it to the old model to find out if the changes are worth it or if the changes are just some marketing hokey pokey by Secretlabs to sell more chairs. Welcome back to another episode of STU'S Reviews. Now, before we begin, like all my other content on gaming chairs, this episode is completely unsponsored. I won't even include an affiliate link in the description. That way, you know and can see that I have no monetary gain from saying anything about this product. In return for my honest opinion, I would love it if you could hit that thumbs up, because the only way I'm making money from this episode is through YouTube and revenue. So if you want to see me eat more than just pasta, pesto and cheese this month, hit that thumbs up and my stomach will love you forever. Now, I've actually been pretty critical about Secretlabs chairs in the past. The original one where I spoke about expectations versus reality of the comfort, the 9 months later catch-up where I investigated the warranty and aftercare service, and my XL versus standard Titan episode alongside my Omega review. If you want to watch those, I'll link them below, but because of these episodes, it bewilders me that they've chosen to send me a pre-production model of their newest 2022 range to review. The one thing that this shows, though, is that they've got a hell of a lot of confidence in the product, which could be a good thing. But what I will say now is that with some of my critical points about Secretlabs in the past, they've actively sought to improve and have implemented changes already based on things that I myself or others have pointed out in the past. For example, in my original review of the 2020 range, I criticised the build process and the points I raised got changed mid-cycle. By the time I reviewed the XL model, those changes had been implemented and the build process was significantly better experience for it. So let's crack on and find out if they've made any more changes. In the box, you still get the biggest instruction pamphlet I've ever seen in my life. There's the chair back and an updated memory foam pillow and updated armrests, both of which I'll talk more about in a bit. There's the start base, the seat base, the tools and accessory kit, and lastly the tilt and recline mechanism. The build process hasn't changed all that much since I assembled the XL model, so I won't go into too much detail here, but the changes they've made since my initial review have made it a hell of a lot easier. They've made one little change this time though, which is simple yet extremely effective. There's a little sticker on the tilt recline mechanism that shows the orientation of the handles. Seemingly inconsequential, but I know there's a lot of people out there who have put these on the wrong way before. Other than this, there's two other changes to the assembly when we take a closer look at the new armrests and memory foam pillow. Starting with the armrests, like a lot of the Secretlab range before it, come bolted onto the chair already and feature their super up, down, left, right twist 4-directional mega adjustment system, so no assembly here. But what's different with the 2022 range, however, is the magnetic tops. This might seem quite insignificant in the big picture, but I actually think this has more implications than people give it credit for. Firstly, there's the obvious benefit that you can swap and replace them far easier than before, where you would have had to replace the entire arm. Already, Secretlab have mentioned that several types of armrests that you'll be able to buy alongside the standard ones are going to be made available. There's one they're calling Techno Gel, which is made with a German originating gel that supposedly supports your weight more effectively in all directions and is more cool to the touch. Now, the next benefit is slightly less obvious, but if you ever need to buy a replacement or outside of the warranty you choose to destroy yours, then getting a replacement should be, in theory, much cheaper than having to ship an entire whole art replacement. Now, this leads on to what I think is the third benefit here, is that because the packaging is much smaller and much lighter, it'll be far easier on the environment to ship. So this change gets nothing but a massive thumbs up from me. Now, initially I was concerned that they wouldn't be held on firm enough, but they are. And if I didn't know that they were magnetized to the armrests, they'd feel just like the 2020 range. And I mean, technically, because they're so easy to disassemble, you could even cover these yourself in your own material. The same magnetic connection is also in the memory foam pillow as well. Gone is the horrible elastic band holding it on, and instead it's embedded with magnets that hold it against the top of the chair. This looks 1,000 times better than before, but my concern here is, did they pick form over function? Well, I'm happy to report that this isn't the case. The fact it's actually easier to move within the magnetized area means that there's a greater opportunity to find the fit for you, and surprisingly it stays on quite well. I do think there's a little room here for the magnets to be a little bit stronger to keep its position, but I think it's still very satisfactory. But for whatever I feel about those magnets, you cannot argue that it absolutely does wonders for the overall aesthetics. Another big change to the external form factor is the seat base. This takes inspiration from both the Titan and the Omega 2020 ranges. It has a slightly higher raised edge, similar to the Omega, but not quite as angular or prominent. This means that it fits slightly snugger than the 2020 Titan, but slightly more open than the Omega 2020, meaning that those that want to sit cross-legged are going to be able to, whilst also benefiting those that want a slightly cozier fit. Now that's it for physical form changes that you might spot, but it doesn't stop there because they made a ton of unseen and internal changes that make a hell of a big difference. The first is the material. Now although this looks like the previous PU leather, it's now something they're calling the Neo Hybrid Leatherette, which they've said increases durability yet feels soft and supple as Nappa leather. Now this is a claim that I can't confirm or deny, at the moment anyway, so we're just going to have to take their word for it because feel-wise it feels very similar to the previous one, potentially slightly tougher, but that might be my imagination because I've been told how it's supposed to feel. Upon further macro examination, you can indeed see that the 2022 leatherette looks quite different to what was in the 2020 models. Now they've also updated the Softweave Model 2, supposedly making it softer and more breathable yet more durable, although I've yet to see one and feel one in the flesh, so I can't make any conclusions there. Now all of these are great, but if this was a West End musical, the star of the show would absolutely be the new lumbar support system. Now I've always loved this in the Titan 2020 model, which allowed you to adjust the amount of support it would give internally. In the 2022 model, you've got the standard adjuster, which is just about here. Although it's had a few little changes to it, it does the same thing. But on the other side of the chair, there's a mysterious knob. Now, I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about this. Twisting this, the lumbar support can now move up and down, as well as in and out on the other side adjustment. I didn't know I wanted this, but I can tell you now that I'm not sure how I ever lived without it. Especially for someone like myself who is a 6'8" Gigantosaurus, it allows me to adjust the support to the correct height for my back. It's not just this, the lumbar support now has a crisscross style pattern that adapts to your back in the most comfortable way, providing a good amount of support, yet not being so unyielding that it's uncomfortable. With this, they've done a fantastic job, and I cannot stress enough how much better it is for personalised comfort. Now, along with this, there's been some changes to the size. There's now 3 models, small, regular and XL. I'm currently sitting in the regular, which size-wise is comparable to the previous gen standard Titan that I had as well. The XL seems to have had a measurement overhaul, and I believe this is a massive change from my initial opinion. Originally, I said the 2020 XL was built solely for those who were larger in width rather than height like myself. Well, this time, they've added quite a lot of extra height to the backrest, something which I wanted from the 2020 XL, so again, nothing but positive changes here. The small version is a new addition to the Titan range, and the measurements are quite comparable to that of the Omega, so I think this will fit those with a slightly smaller build. Now there's one other thing that they've changed that I really like before I talk about a couple of things I'm not so keen on, and that is that this chair has some built-in tech. In the back there's an NFC chip which you can scan with your phone. It'll open up the browser page where it'll check the authenticity of the chair. I mean, how cool is that? I didn't realise that counterfeit Secretlab's chairs were a thing, but either way, if you're buying from a third-party seller or even in the second-hand market for one, this allows you to check with certainty its authenticity, which I love. One little tip here is, though, once you've scanned the tag, you have to keep the phone next to it whilst it checks the browser, otherwise it won't scan correctly. Now, let's talk about the things that I don't like. And to be completely honest with you, it's been really hard to find something negative or critical about these chairs. And that's a testimony to how much Secretlab have improved them. I hate being overly positive about products, but in this case, all of the changes that they've made have been for the better. And a lot of the changes addressed many of the concerns that I had in my 2020 review series. At this moment in time, without testing over several months, there's only two things I can initially say that I would want changing in future iterations. One is the strength of the headrest magnets, which I've already said, and the second would be the wheels. Now, these are large PU casters which do an okay job, but for my stone floor with big undulating crevices, they don't really fend that well. I want to see big skate wheels on them, big rubberized wheels like from the Mavics chairs which I reviewed previously. They were the only thing that those chairs got right. But even if Secretlabs don't include them as standard but offer them as an optional extra alongside the different armrest tops, then that would be fine. And they could do them in a ton of colours to match the chairs, which I think would look incredible. But yeah, the wheels in their existing form are still a bit naff. I will say that they're certainly durable, as you'll find out in a future episode of STU'S Reviews where we test the durability of Secretlab's chairs to the absolute max. So stay tuned for that one and hit that subscribe and notification bell if you want to see how well they stand up to all sorts of ridiculous tests designed to replicate real world use. The only other thing that I would like to see, and this isn't really about the chair itself, but I would love to see less plastic in the packaging. Now I get it, sometimes it's a necessary evil to provide safe transport, but there's got to be a better way than this mess of environment-killing waste. Now, let's talk about the price of the new range. They are very comparable to the previous gen at similar prices. The small coming at $359, the regular at $379 and the XL at $449. The soft weave is about 20 quid more expensive for each model. Now my original thoughts from the 2020 was that this is a ridiculous amount of money to spend on a chair, but I want to revise my opinion slightly here. After testing out far more expensive models like the Mavics chair, which I've mentioned already, and that was about $1,000, it's quite clear that these chairs at $379 are actually extremely reasonably priced for the level of support, comfort and quality that they offer. Although I've mentioned this before, these chairs are still much firmer than you might expect. Even myself, when I tried my first one, my initial thoughts were that they were a lot firmer than I'd hoped for. Do you know what? My initial thought is that it is much firmer than I anticipated. Kind of expected a cloud. But that's because I think there's a really common unconscious association between price and comfort, and then in turn, comfort with softness. It's a well-known scientific fact that soft chairs are extremely bad for your back, and what you want is a chair that's both comfortable and supportive. Now, Secretlab work with an ergonomics advisory board consisting of engineers, academics and experts in the fields of orthopedics and biomechanics to craft these chairs to do just that. Offer your posture a significant amount of support whilst also being quite comfortable. Since changing over to a Secretlab chair from my old IKEA chair, my back has thanked me for it. And that was extremely soft and gave me about as much support as a wet piece of paper. My back was in pieces after long periods of gaming and editing. So I think that Secretlabs do a good job at riding the fine line between comfort and support, and they're continuing to do this with the new 2022 range. Do you know what? In conclusion, I think the Titan Evo 2020 range isn't just a marketing ploy to sell more chairs. I actually think that they've made a real effort to improve on many of the things that others and myself have pointed out. It's not just the things that people have pointed out. Secretlab have improved things that I didn't even know I wanted improved, such as the lumbar support. If anything, I feel that they've done themselves a bit of an injustice here by calling it the Titan Evo. it should have been called the Titan Evo, because this thing isn't just an evolution of Secretlab chairs, it's an absolute revolution in customization, comfort, style and overall experience, and what can I say, I absolutely love it. But will my opinion change over the next few months as the chair beds in, and will any problems emerge over long-term usage, and how will the supposedly stronger material fare up over time? Well, I guess you'll need to hit that notification bell to find out what I think when I obviously do a catch-up with you lot in about 6 months' time. But for now, what do you think? Do you think the changes are good? Are you going to upgrade to the new model? Are you going to buy it? Are you new to Secretlabs? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see this chair in action or have any specific questions, you can drop me a comment or you can find me live over on Twitch. So go and give me a follow over there too. And as a friendly reminder, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and that subscribe button to see more. And I'll see you back for another episode of STU'S Reviews soon.